creative people. This is Givehand of Giving Hands Creative, and I'm coming to you today, Sunday, November 24th at 12:35 in the afternoon for Book in a Day 47. I'm still amazed when I say the word 47 or the number 47 in reference to how many books I've made this year. It's actually a little bit insane. And so speaking of insane, my week has been completely insane. I started the week off here in Oakland, and midway I went to San Antonio to give two presentations to some amazing teachers from all over the country. That was amazing fun. I think it was probably the most fun I've had. I've been doing presentations like this, similar to what I did in San Antonio since, I don't know, 1996. And I think by far this was probably the most fun I've had. It was a great group of people, super dynamic teachers. I met a wonderful woman who collects pens like I do, and we talked for, I think we probably talked for 30, 40 minutes, and we were late to our session just chatting about pens. So it was really amazing. And I don't know what was different about this one than all the other presentations I've done and conferences I've been to, but there was something special about it. I don't know if it was San Antonio or if it was just the group of folks and the dynamics when you get people together of different energies and personalities, and what that mix can be like when it just works. So anyway, I was in San Antonio, jet lagged like crazy, and then back in Oakland on Friday night, really late. Yeah, so I think I'm still a little loopy from my body being like, wait, are we on Central Time? Are we Pacific Time? What are we doing right now? So I'm gonna do a book structure that's fairly simple. I'm gonna create a ledger book today, and I knew that I was gonna do that yesterday. That kind of was the structure I was thinking about yesterday. And so I did some research on ledgers this morning, and just the idea of it being a book of accounts, an accounting of something, and how we think of it as an accounting book, and it can be that, definitely, but there were times before we had accounting services where it was actually a religious text that was kept in a church or a religious building that kept an account of, it could be an account of all the deaths in the church, or an account of all the births, so a ledger can pretty much be anything that just keeps an account of information. And so I've been thinking a lot about that, and I woke this morning after doing a little research on just the word ledger and the etymology of the word. I started thinking about all the places that I've lived, and not just places like cities, but when I was in college I probably lived in 8 different apartments and maybe 3 different dorms when I was doing my undergraduate studies in Tallahassee, Florida. And so I started thinking about that, and then I realized there's no way for me to, I can't. I called my mother. I was like, can you remember addresses of places I lived in college? And she's like, are you kidding? But she's one of those people who keeps her address book forever and ever, so I figured she could go back and look. But instead of doing that, I thought maybe I'll do one of the things that happened while I was in San Antonio. I was missing my husband so much. It was kind of crazy. I mean, I usually miss him when I'm away. That's not unusual. But this time was like crazy missing. Like I don't know. It was really weird. So when I got home, I was so happy to be home, so happy to see him. And so I started thinking maybe I should do just the places he and I have lived together. So we've known each other for a long time, 27 years. We've known each other since I was 13. And we were friends for 15 years before we dated, before we held hands, before we were intimate at all. We were just friends for 15 years. So we have a very long history. We even lived together for a short time in college. I had a roommate, Erica. Hi, Erica. And he stayed with us for about a month, maybe, give or take. And so I thought, well, what if we started there and then mapped out all the places he and I have lived together. So that ended up being 6 places total as of today. And so that sounds more manageable to me than trying to remember and come up with and find all the different places I lived in my lifetime, starting from birth to now, because that would be kind of insane. We'd probably be looking at about 15 to 18 different places. So here's what I know. I know I'm doing a ledger book. I know I'm using vellum papers for something. I have been wanting to do something with vellum papers, and this feels like the right moment. So I'm going to do something with vellum papers. I have this book. I've had this for a long time, since I was a teacher teaching middle school, because I used to use this for students to, I would print things out on it and give them like special little certificates and things, and they thought it was really cool to have it on this see-through paper. So I've had this for a really long time. I got it from a place called Pearl, which I don't even know if Pearl stores exist anymore, but so it's called vellum papers, and it's just papers that you can tear out. They tear out of this book, they're perforated, and they tear out, and you just use them. I think it's probably a scrapbooking thing, but so yeah, I'll be using them for this. And then we have just the regular paper. I'm thinking there might be some watercolor that comes into play. I have this little pack of twinkling H2Os that I recently acquired, so maybe those will come into play. And then maybe the typewriter might get pulled out for something. And I think maybe some maps will be involved, since we're talking about locations and places. Maybe a little bit of text, we'll see. So I'm still working out all the details as I go, as usual. So I will just start making and check back in with you all periodically, and I'll see you on the other side of book 47. Oh my God, I don't know if it's blowing your mind, but 47 is blowing my mind. Okay, see you on the other side of book 47. Stay tuned. Okay, I just want to do a quick check-in. We are at 2:27, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with things like this, right, with the vellum curling. So I'm going to play around with that. But I'm thinking each page is, so I printed out these little maps of each place that I lived. And I'm going to cut these out, and I'm thinking that they're either going to get adhered to this or this. I haven't decided how I'm going to do that just yet. So I'm going to think about that, probably take a little break to eat something, and then I'll be back. See you in a minute. Okay, so I've cut out the little maps, and I have decided that I'm going to put the maps on the painted paper, and I'm actually thinking about typing. I don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea. Typing the longitude and latitude for each one of these on the vellum. It's tricky. Okay, we'll see. But I'm going to be using double-sided tape to make my life easy when I put these on. So that is going to be my next step. See you back here in a minute. Okay, beautiful creative people. Book 47 is done. It is 5:25 and it is so dark outside. It feels like it's 11 o'clock at night, but it's not even 5:30 yet. I guess that's the whole daylight savings thing. Okay, so the ledger book is done and I'm calling it a love ledger. I had my husband help me brainstorm a title because I was really like running out of brain energy to come up with something, and then I just said this being funny, like a love letter, a love ledger, and I was like, oh, and he was like, yeah, and so we went with that. So it is done. I had a heck of a time getting these beads on, so I wanted to have beads on the end and fray this thread, but then I realized this thread that I'm using doesn't fray well because it's waxed, and so yeah, the whole idea of fraying didn't work out the way I wanted it to, but I'm going to play around with it. And then it was just unruly. It was going in every direction, and so I put a little piece of tape on it for now. I know that's very like it doesn't, whatever, but I'm gonna leave it until I figure out how to get these things to be less uncontrollable. So that was just to tame them, to keep them all kind of going in the same direction, but you see that they're still doing whatever they want to do. It's kind of insane. I just want them all to go in the same way. But anyway, okay, so the ledger's done. I have 3 beads on the end. One is a heart because it's called the love ledger, so that's a little red heart bead, and then 2 black ones to match the thread. And I typed the title using a piece of the so I ended up having to go with, so at the beginning I talked about vellum, but I ended up having to go with some vellum and some tracing paper because I only had 2 pieces of plain vellum. Everything else was like decorative. It had, you know, little things on it, and I was not happy with that. So, and the whole point of booking a day is to use what I have here at the house, not leave the house and go buy something. And so what I had was tracing paper, the next closest thing to vellum. So that's what I used, and each one has the longitude and latitude typed on it, and then when you lift it you can actually see the actual map. So I really like this idea of providing 2 layers here. So each one is like that. It has the longitude and latitude and then the map. And it ended up being 7 of them. For some reason I thought there were 6. And so, yeah, we were toying around with words like 7 degrees of, yeah, for the title. I was thinking of all kind of weird things. But the book is done. This is a love ledger. It shows all the different maps and locations of where my husband and I have lived together. The binding is so super simple, it's ridiculous. I use this little 2-hole puncher that I got from a dollar store, I think in like Fresno, California, or somewhere. I know I got it at a dollar store, but it was a while ago. It's really tiny, but it has a really cool center mark. So I just went through and I put center marks on all the pages. The pages are 4 by 5, so it was easy to just mark a 2-inch mark and make sure that it hit that little center point each time to get my holes punched properly. And then literally you just take the thread through and around and back through and tie a knot. And you could do it, you know, you could make a line across if you wanted to, but the whole idea of a ledger is that it has this style of binding. So this is book 47. It's done. It's done. It's done. And you know, I talked about using twinkling H2Os, and I ended up not using them. Instead, I used some tempera paint. It's metallic tempera, and yeah, it just goes on so beautifully. It's kind of crazy. So I really liked that. And I did both sides of all the papers that I had, and I ended up only really needing 2 sheets, really 1 sheet and a piece, because I just had to cut off one little strip of this. So this is likely to be a book cover for something at some point, or to show up somewhere in another project. So yeah, so that was good. That's it. It was super simple. I took a break for a little bit and chatted with the husband and had a little snack to eat, and that was it. So book 47 is done, and I'm rambling, so that means it's time for me to say goodbye. Thank you so much for watching. I'll post some pictures at the end, and I look forward to seeing you next week. I hope you have an amazing and wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, if you celebrate Thanksgiving. If not, but you get some time off, I hope you go out and create something beautiful this week. Thank you again for watching. Book 47. See you next week.